Hi, my friends. It has been such a good first day of school, don't you think? We're going to finish off this first day before our first afternoon meeting with a little social studies. Now, I know that if you're new to school, like I know you are, you might not know what social studies means. It basically means studying our community, the world around us, and ourselves, and understanding the world around us and how it relates to our feelings and our behavior. And we'll dive deep into that this year. We're going to start this first social studies lesson with a story from one of my favorite authors, David Shannon. We're going to read David Goes to School by David Shannon. Listen closely, because once again, I'm going to be talking about what happens in the story at the end. Good readers do something called a picture walk. And that is when we look through the pictures, look through the book, and make predictions. A prediction is something that you think is going to happen. I know this story must be about a little boy, and it's called David Goes to School, so maybe this is David. Ooh, he's throwing a paper airplane. I wonder if he's going to make good choices. Let's take a quick walk through the pictures before we read the story. If you had to make a prediction of who that is, what do you think? It's called David Goes to School, so do you think it's his mom? Maybe. Is it his doctor? Maybe. Who would we see at school in front of a desk? His teacher. Oh, I like teachers. I like the way this illustrator, the person who drew the pictures, draws. It reminds me of the work that my kindergartners do, and I really like the work that my kindergartners do. Now, the special thing about this book is that David Shannon is the author and the illustrator. He's the author, he wrote the rules, and he's the illustrator, he drew the pictures. That must be David. Remember, we're just doing a picture walk. Oh man. That looks messy. Feel free to pause and make predictions. If there's someone next to you, just shout them out. What do you think is going to happen in the story? Now, the trick of making predictions is if you have already heard the story or read it before, shh, don't tell anybody what happens. Spoiler. They look like they're not happy. What do you think they're feeling? Why do you think they feel that way? Oh man, I don't think that all lunch ladies would like it very much if we treated the cafeteria like that. What is her face telling us? What do you think she's feeling right now? Oh, look at that. I've seen that body before. What do you think he needs? Oh man, what's he doing there? Okay. It's always good to get an idea what to expect. And then as we go through the reading, and after we read, we'll check in. Were we right? Were your predictions correct? Let's read. David Goes to School by David Shannon. David's teacher always said, "No, David, no yelling, no pushing, no running in the halls." David, you're tardy. Tardy is a fancy word for late. Sit down, David. Don't chew gum in class. Oh man, that's a rule I have too. Is he following that rule? David, raise your hand. Keep your hands to yourself. That means don't touch your friends. Pay attention. Wait your turn, David. Now, we made a prediction about what they were feeling. If he's being told to wait your turn, that means he's not waiting his turn. He's skipping in line. And so how do you think these friends feel? I would feel pretty frustrated, especially if I was very hungry. I don't care who started it. David, recess is over. It looks like all the other friends went inside, but David did not listen when he was told to go inside. I wonder how his teacher's feeling. I know how I feel when my friends don't follow directions and rules. It's hard to keep them safe and all of their friends safe when you have a friend who's not following directions. Shh. Again? So I asked you to make a prediction. What do you think he needs? He's holding himself and doing the potty dance, right? He needs to go to the bathroom. Again? That's it, mister. You're staying after school. Why does he have to stay after school? I like when authors and illustrators show in a picture what is happening, but don't tell you in the words. You have to make an inference, a guess. And I think you're right. He wrote all over his desk. That is not a good choice. We don't do that, do we? Mm-mm. David, have you finished? So what did he have to do after school? As a consequence is something that happens because of your actions. His action was coloring on his desk, and the consequence was he had to wash them. And he did it. Good job, David. That must be his teacher. Was your prediction correct? Yes, David, you can go home now. Now, I might not keep you after school for making a poor choice, but it is important that you know that they're all good choices and bad choices, right? I like to call those yes, David choices and no, David choices. And this will make more sense when we read a book, No, David by David Shannon in a few days. Today, I want you to think, close your eyes and think about choices. I mentioned a big fancy word called consequences while I was reading the story. And I mentioned that a consequence is something that happens as a result of your action. So an action is something you do. For example, David drew on the desks. And the consequence, because of that action, was he had to wash the desks afterward. Now, it is important for you to understand that there are good consequences and bad consequences, just like there are good choices and bad choices. Let's see if we can think of some good choices that have good consequences. Well, he washed the desks and listened to his teacher that time, and he got to go home and get a gold star. And if we look back in our book, you can see she said, good job, was happy with him. Now that was a good choice after a bad choice. So we want to make good choices the first time, right? And not just after we've made bad choices already. Let me think of another good choice. Your mom tells you, okay, your room's a mess, please clean it up. And you listen the very first time she tells you to, and you clean it up really well. And the good consequence of that is you get to have an extra scoop of ice cream at dessert time. That's a good consequence. Now, a good consequence and a bad consequence is not always a thing or an item or a timeout. Sometimes you may hit your brother or sister and get a timeout. But there are other consequences too. And we're going to be talking about consequences that you can't always see. For example, a good choice. You tell your mom how thankful you are and how much you love her. And the good consequence is she smiles and hugs you and she is having a great day. Bad consequence, you ignore your friend who's trying to use his words to tell you that you're bothering him. And he's using his kind words too. Please stop doing that. And you ignore him and do it anyway. The bad consequence, you might not get caught by a teacher and you might not get time out, but your friend is going to be upset with you. And if a friend is upset with you, they might not want to be your friend anymore, and they definitely won't want to spend time with you right then. And that's a bad consequence. We have rules at school just like David did. And we'll talk more about them tomorrow. But I want you to think today, what kind of rules do you think we have at school? David had, don't cut in line. Don't draw on the table, don't chew gum, raise your hand and wait your turn. Those are all great rules. I have some expectations too, which is what I expect you to do and how I expect you to behave and treat others. And we'll go into those more specifically tomorrow. Your assignment today, I want you to go to someone in your home and tell them an example of a good choice and a bad choice. So what is something that is a good choice that you can do today? And what is a bad choice that you could do? And then I hope that you will go and make that good choice, okay? I hope to see you in our afternoon meeting at 2 o'clock. I will see you then. Adios, aloha, and goodbye.